So hello, all the sinners. My name is Jason Chrisman, and this is Anna Gugrich.
Hello.
And we are both admissions counselors at AT Still University. We may have interacted with you through different means, but if you haven't met us before, that's who we are. We're going to talk a little bit today about interviewing, being prepared for interviewing, different things. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with a PowerPoint. Just a really brief overview of your interview day and just what you should be doing, things you should wear, things like that. And then we're going to actually do some mock interviews. I'm going to interview Anna, and we're going to show you some examples of good and bad interviews. And I think we were talking earlier, and I think one of the big takeaways is that from today should be people, when they interview, get really nervous sometimes. So the more chances you have to go through some mock interviews, definitely take advantage of those. And sometimes when we visit different places, and sometimes like I was in St. Louis today, I offer mock interviews from time to time. So if you have the opportunity to do that through a university or just through maybe maybe you're working somewhere and the employer would do that for you, take advantage of those situations. I think they're really valuable. So we're going to do the PowerPoint. We're going to move into that second piece, and then there's a third piece, which is a mystery piece. So you're going to find out what that is at the end. And we have the chat feature up. So if you have questions, we've got everybody muted right now, I think. But if you have questions, just chat in during any portion of what we're doing, and we will address those questions. So like if I'm doing the PowerPoint and there's something that you want to ask, definitely ask it. I'll be looking at the chat the whole time I'm doing that. So I want to make sure you get your questions answered and things like that. Sound good? Okay. Let me get our PowerPoint going. Okay, you guys see the blue screen? Okay, good. All right, so this is everything you always wanted to know about interviewing, and it's really slow when it does that. But we're afraid to ask. Really, please ask. So definitely, like we said, ask us questions, and like do the chat feature, work through your facilitator there, and if there's something that maybe isn't even what we're talking about and you have a question about, feel free to ask that. So there are a lot of stages. So you got the before interview stage, you have the interview stage, and you have the post interview stage. We're just going to touch really briefly on all of those different areas. But it's extremely important to research the school, its mission and philosophy. Anna and I both interview for our medical school program. So I don't know, we probably interview 50 to 100 easily every year of pre-med students that come in. And a lot of times, I'm sure Anna will agree, I'll get somebody who comes in my office and they don't really know a lot about us. And why that is a disadvantage is, we take, for instance, our medical school takes 172 students. Well, we get thousands and thousands of people who apply, and we'll interview about 10% of the people who apply. So anything you can do just to kind of make yourself stand out is always important. That's one of the big pieces. Look at the school. Look at what it's about. The mission is very important because when you guys are interviewing for med school or dental school or whatever it is, and you're choosing between 2 or 3 different schools and maybe it's pretty close, look at the mission, because the mission really speaks to what the school is about and what you're going to be focused on for those 4 years and beyond. Some basic things. Obviously, you can verify the time and date, location of the interview. You want to be there, I would say, at least 20, 30 minutes before. Get comfortable. You don't want to rush into this. It's a big moment. And sometimes you will have people that rush at the last moment, and then they're nervous and they have a lot of anxiety, and then you got to go start your interviews and things like that. Just be prepared. That's the big takeaway. Review your files and experiences. Okay, that's important because it is a high-pressure situation. We try to make it not so, but still it is. And sometimes I will have people that come in my office. I will interview them, and I'll say, hey, tell me about the time you did a medical mission trip to South Africa. And they will be a big blank stare in their face. And I think it's important just, review the night before what you've done. That's always a good thing because it can slip your mind at times. At the same token, if you're in an interview and someone would ask you a question and you don't really know the answer right off, it's okay to say, can I think about that? And take 5 seconds. not a problem. Totally do that. And then I'm kind of mixing a little bit before and during the interview, but I think that's okay. And then also avoid jargon, slangs, and acronyms. So whenever you are doing your Acronyms application or your med school application or your ADSAS application for dental school or wherever you're looking at, sometimes people will put, I was a president of the CAMAME, and they tell us all these great things that they did there, but that's not professional because we really don't know what that is. So make sure you're very professional, you spell things out. During the interview, okay, you definitely want to interact with the applicants and other staff. So for the entire interview day, you actually come and there's somebody that greets you. It's a very nice atmosphere, but it is professional. You want to interact with that person. When you're sitting down waiting, maybe you're a little bit early, interact with who's there with you. Don't really be the lone wolf that stands off by yourself. At the same time, don't be the alpha male or whatever that's just in everybody's face. That's not a good thing either. So that goes into making that positive first impression. Basic stuff, smile, you know, have that good posture. And Ann and I are trying to have good posture right now. We're on not back, so we're working on our posture here. But you definitely want to do that. You want to have that pleasant personality. You know, you want to bring your A game to the interview itself. You know, you can use a professional folder, attaché or bag, things like that is totally fine. Etiquette, so for instance, when you go to interview, most places will offer a lunch in part of the interview day, and so proper etiquette. You know, you're being, from the moment you step onto campus to the moment you leave campus, you're being interviewed, whether you're talking to an interviewer or not. So always use appropriate etiquette. Listen attentively. You know, that is major. When I interview somebody and they're looking around and they're not paying attention to me, that tells me they're not interested in my school or the university, and they're not taking it seriously. So you definitely want to do that. Taking notes is fine as well. Be prepared to ask questions, and I always ask at the end, every interviewer will ask, they will say something like, do you have any questions for me? And it's fine if you don't. I totally don't have a problem with that. I don't know how you feel about that. But it's okay to have questions about anything. It can be about the town. It can be about the atmosphere. It can be about, you know, what's the best thing about the school. I hear a lot of that. It's major. You want to walk in with confidence. You know, that is definitely a positive impression on you, but you don't want to be arrogant. Or, you know, we at our university, we're looking for people who want to go in and serve other people. Yes, it is a kind of a high-profile position. Maybe you're a doctor or a dentist or whatever, but we don't want people who are arrogant. I always think in lines of this, the people that are coming for interviews have done a lot of great things, and they should be proud of those things, but they should be humble about them too. Last point, without saying, right? Definitely don't even take your cell phone into the interview experience at all. You know, I'm constantly checking my cell phone, so why even have the distraction there? Just leave it in the car. If maybe you go to an interview day and you bring your mom or dad or whoever with you, give it to them. Let them have it, because, you know, you don't want to have that distraction. And like I said, if you have any questions, send them through the chat. Okay. So these are some points to remember. We are asking a wide variety of questions. You know, for instance, at our university, all universities are a little bit different. We have one-on-one interviews here. So you interview, if you come here to interview at KCOM, you would interview with a basic science faculty member, that's a PhD. You would interview with a clinical faculty member, that's an MD or a DO, we have both here. And then with someone in admissions like Anna or myself. And we all ask a wide range of questions. And the main focus of our questions, no matter if they're focused on your grades or your personality or your history, is all about understanding more about you. And I would say at the same token, you guys are interviewing us in a way too, because maybe you're going to get 6 or 7 offers. I don't know. So you want to know more about the school. So that's on you too, a little bit. Just some other ones as well. If something doesn't get discussed, it's probably not an issue for the interviewer. So I actually have had people sometimes who have had some disciplinary issues in their application that sometimes I touch on them. I feel like I should touch on them. And sometimes I think that they've explained it well enough in the application, or I feel like, you know, maybe it was a long enough time ago that I don't touch on it. But those are open. as well. So it's how you respond a lot of times. That third point, I would say that that's true. You know, it's not about being right or wrong to some extent. You know, sometimes I ask some questions that are ethics based, and so a lot of times I just want to know your thought process, how you would handle a situation. Sometimes there's a multiple ways of handling maybe a scenario I put to someone. So just remember, it's how you respond. Can you think logically? Can you support your decision making process? And a lot of times we'll give you opportunity to provide additional info. A lot of times I have a set guideline of questions that I ask, but when I'm having an interview, generally I will branch off onto something that the interviewee has said. So I'll ask a question, they'll say something, and then I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more about this. So answer the question that's being asked. That's a really vital one, because you wouldn't think that people would go into an interview and you know, kind of avoid the question, but that does happen. You want to focus on what's going on. There are a lot of distractions on interview day, like I said, a lot of anxiety, but focus on the point at hand. And don't go to the interview with your own agenda. Take that a lot of different ways, but sometimes people do that. Your interview, the approach you should take is, I'm going in there, I'm going to be positive, I'm just going to answer the questions they ask me, and if they give me a little leeway, then I'll take it my own direction as well. Okay, so those are just some basic pointers when it comes to interviewing. There's a lot of other things, a lot of wealth of knowledge I believe that Anna and myself could provide, you know, if you have questions, specific questions. Those are some basic things to think about. You know, these are after the interview tips as well. Sending written thank you notes is very appropriate. It's not a requirement, but I think it does look good because it is a professional experience as well. And you definitely want to spell our names correctly, okay? My last name is Chrisman, and a lot of people put a T in my last name. There's no T in my last name. So titles, you know, I don't have my doctorate, so don't call me Dr. Chrisman. Things like that. And on the flip side, if you're interviewed by a faculty member that does have their doctorate and you put Mr. or Mrs., not good. Verifying the status of your application, we do that all the time. People will have an interview. You know, usually it takes 2 to 4 weeks to get back with them. Sometimes it can take longer. And we actually have people that will call us and they'll be like, hey, Jason, it's been a month. Can you check my application status for me? And I'm like, yes, I definitely can do that. My tip here is don't call the day after you interview. Okay? People do that and it's not that fast. So you just need to get a little bit of time, give a little grace period there. The third point is really big. Be gracious to who you speak with on the phone or via email. We have a lot of people that can potentially talk about your application, or maybe you would call and you would talk to somebody and they get you to us. And I have heard before that people will call and they think that they're talking to somebody who is less important, which no one is less important. But in my opinion, no one is in that less important status. But someone will think that, and then they'll talk down to this individual. And we know all that. So everything gets back to us. So remember that. Being honest, if you're up against a timeline, totally fine. You know, you can tell us, you know what, I came and interviewed a month ago. I've got an offer from another university. I'm up against a timeline. Can you guys look at my file and let me know? We can definitely take that into consideration. Not saying that will push everything into hyperspeed, but it can help. I see I have a question. It says, how important are first impressions in an interview? So, Anna, you want to tackle that one?
Well, everything in an interview is important, but first impressions, they can make or break an interview, especially, you know, depending on the interview that you're in. Going into it and giving the wrong impression can kind of set the tone for the rest of the interview. So just like all the things Jason's been saying, you want to make sure that you seem excited to be there, that you've done your research, you know the school, and that you treat everyone respectfully. I mean, you know, maybe not even necessarily with the person you're interviewing with, but we have someone who greets the students first thing in the morning, and she doesn't interview the students, but she, you know, she sees and hears everything, and just like Jason was saying, she reports that back to us. So you show up and you're frantic and scatterbrained because you're running late, which is also a bad thing to do. You know, that first impression can say a lot about your character, unfortunately. So you do need to be on top of your game. Now, of course, there's always situations where the first impression might be a mistake and something could have happened, and you know that those can be overlooked, but definitely make sure that your first impression is a good one.
All right, good stuff. Interview day attire. What should you wear? You know, the easy answer to this is professional dress. If you're a man, wear a suit and tie, full suit and tie. That means, you know, slacks, you got your jacket on, you got your tie, your nice shirt, all of that. You need it all. Be well groomed. If you're a lady, you know, what would you? I'll let Anna. I'll let you take that.
Well, women can definitely wear, you know, suit, pants, jacket, or a skirt. We always encourage women, obviously, be very conscious about the length of your skirt. You know, you don't want it to be tight. You don't want to be tugging at it. You know, I'm all for the latest fashion and pencil skirts, but they can be uncomfortable, and you can constantly be adjusting them, and that's one thing you do not want to do on an interview day. You don't want it to be too short because you're going to be sitting across from the person interviewing you, and we have absolutely had situations like that we've had to report on those evaluations because of those situations. So again, you know, avoid low-cut shirts. You know, you want to look professional, and you don't necessarily have to look extremely appealing. So just, you know, worry about looking professional, like I said, and you can still be stylish and do that. So, and just make sure you're comfortable as well. And you want to make sure that that everything you have is, you know, nice and neat. It doesn't have to be brand new. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing, but again, just professional. We also have situations where we've noticed that people have just gone out to buy a brand new suit, and that's wonderful. Good for you. Don't forget to clip the little strings on the back of the tail of the coat, or whatever the case might be. If there's stitches or tags, that can just kind of be something that is slightly embarrassing. We won't, you know, put a red flag on your application for that, but again, just some things to think about.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, we just got that question that said black or gray suit. It does not matter what color of suit you wear. I would obviously make sure it matches. But black, gray, navy blue, men typically, I would stick with those three colors. I mean, you could probably get by with maybe a nice tan suit. But yeah, I mean, and we've had women that have worn colored suits. I interviewed a girl the other day that actually looked really nice, and it was a purple dress suit, I think. So yeah, I mean, black and gray are definitely probably the most professional looking colors, but you're not limited to just that. It's more just about the overall attire and how you present yourself.
I just want to piggyback on something that Anna said. She said be comfortable. So like she had mentioned, a lot of times people will come, and that's the first time you've had a professional suit or professional looking clothes or dress or whatever. And so, you know, you probably want to put that on before and maybe walk around in it, feel comfortable in it, because you're going to be in that thing all day long. And if it's not comfortable and it's too tight or something like that, then that can bother you. So definitely give yourself time to get used to the clothes, feel comfortable in them. A couple of the things that we have on the screen here I think is important to mention is the too much cologne or perfume. That's important because you don't want to have, I mean, you want to be pleasant and everything like that. And definitely, you know, use deodorant and take a shower and stuff. But sometimes you can be interviewed by somebody who has maybe an allergic reaction to some type of strong smell or things like that. So you want to tone that down a little bit. Conservative jewelry, I think, is important too. You can wear earrings, you can wear a necklace, ladies, all that type of thing, but just be professional. That's the big word. Overall, professional. It's a professional environment. So we're going to move on. Okay. Any other questions on that? Definitely type those in. I want to touch on the first impression thing before we go to the next part of the where we do our mock interviews session here. So somebody had asked about the importance of first impressions. And yes, you only get one chance to make your first impression. We all know that. But at the same time, we're all human beings, and we can mess up, we can stumble, maybe say something that we wish we wouldn't have said, or whatever we're doing. That does not mean that you're doomed, okay? For us, so you get 30 minutes in each interview, so that's an hour and 30 minutes of interview time, okay? Plenty of time to make that up and to readjust to the situation. I think that's another thing we're looking for is how do you adjust to situations? How do you readjust? Now, there are a lot of interview styles. Ours is one-on-one, but there are something called MMIs, mini multiple interviews. There are interview panels, all kinds of different things. So you're going to have to adjust no matter where you go in that environment. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to our screen so you can see us. Let me do that really quickly here. Okay, see us? Put a thumbs up if you can. Okay, you can't see us, good. Okay, so we're gonna do some mock type of interviews. And what we're gonna do is Anna's gonna be the actress, if you will. So she will be the person who's being interviewed. I will be the interviewer. And we're gonna have, about 3 or 4 different types of interviews. And each one might take a minute or two. And then we're gonna actually unmute it and we wanna get some feedback from you all from what you've seen. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, I think the best thing you can do, this is really good. I think this, I applaud you for coming out for this because these are some practical tips. You're going to see someone and Anna that's going to stumble and kind of do some things that aren't kosher in some ways. The best thing you can do is to get some mock interviews yourself. That's the key. That's really good. So keep your questions coming. If you have questions when we're doing this, definitely welcome those. But I'm going to focus on her now. We're going to act like it's an interview environment, just like I would every Monday or Friday here. We interview for med school. So I'm just going to start off with the questions. And like I said, we're going to have different scenarios. And we're going to do it for probably about a minute or two, and then maybe longer, depending. And we're going to open up for you guys to kind of get some feedback, okay?
And you can just imagine that we're both wearing a full suit right now, so we did not dress interview professional today. But
yeah, we toned it down for you. And normally when we interview, we don't have a table between us. And in our offices, it's just us and the person just sitting, talking like, just like you were with your friend or something. So, okay, so I'm going to start now. Well, Ms. Goodrich, it's nice to have you here at KCOM, and why don't you just tell me just a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh, so I don't even know where to start. Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be here. This is just like a dream come true for me. And when I started the process, I kept talking about if I should apply to KCOM, if I should apply to Kansas City. I don't know. There's just so many medical schools out there. But anyway, so a little bit about myself. Sorry, I got kind of carried away there. So I just love medicine. I've had some really great experiences. My mom is a doctor, my sister's a doctor, and it just seems like a really great idea to go into medicine. And I've always loved science and healthcare, and I really like helping people. And I'm just, I'm just so glad to be at KCOM. It's just such a great school, and the osteopathic medicine being the founding school is just fantastic. And I've had some of the most amazing experiences in medicine, and just with all kinds of healthcare and shadowing and researching, and in school. I mean, being a pre-med major, there was just so much going on.
So okay, we're going to stop there. Okay, I'd like you to unmute your mics if you can there where you are. I can do that probably too as well. Really quick. All right, so what did you think of, we got 3 centers, so if you talk, like, what did Anna or, or and on.
It wasn't good.
Okay, it wasn't good. Okay, why was it less than desirable?
It wasn't really focused on the school. It didn't make her stand out, and then she started off by not even addressing the question.
What I heard was it wasn't very focused on the school. Talking. That's definitely an example of what we both have had in our experiences. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody again. Like I said, that's an example of what we both have experienced before. I have up to probably 10, 12 questions I have at my disposal, just normal questions, and I can go off on, like I mentioned earlier, on different things that maybe that they bring up that I'm interested in or want to know more about. And I have had people come in and I've asked them 2 questions the entire interview. Okay, so that is totally, I mean, you want to talk about yourself, you want to expound upon yourself, but you definitely don't want to dominate the interview. An interview should be an exchange of 2 people talking about whatever the interviewer wants to take the direction of the process. Definitely feel comfortable to give examples, explain a lot of things, but don't do that. Don't just ramble on. Some people get nervous and they do that just out of habit. Raise your hand if you do that. If you get nervous and you just talk and talk and talk and talk, and that does happen. So that's where the mock interview comes in again. Practice that. You know, even if maybe you don't have someone at a school or maybe an advisor to do that with, do it with a roommate or someone who's maybe want to do pre-med or whatever like you are. Do those types of things because the better you get at it, the more you're aware of it as well. Okay, we're going to do another one, and like I said, you got the chat option is still available for you to send us different questions. You can do that while we're talking as well. But we're going to go into the scenario number 2, okay? And we're just gonna start that now. And so, Anna, it's nice to have you again here at ATSU, and you know, I just welcome you here. You know, I hope you're having a really great day.
Thank you.
So tell me about your experiences in shadowing. You know, a lot of things we see on our important list is those clinical exposures, what you've been doing, maybe shadowing a doctor. Tell me about some of that.
I shadowed 2 different doctors, one DO and one MD.
So can you expound on that? Can you tell me about what you did and what you experienced in those settings? I
just followed them around every day.
Okay. All right. So you followed them around. Okay. Why do you want to be a doctor? Let's talk about that for a moment.
I just really like helping people.
Like helping people. Okay. No other reason? Just want to help people?
I like science too.
Okay, like science. Tell me about potentially, I saw on your application where you had been to Argentina. I think it was last year, and you did some relief work and some humanitarian work. Tell me about what that was like. What were the people like?
Yeah, it was a medical mission, and Argentina is it's a very poor place, so they really needed a lot of help.
What did you do? What did you do there?
We just saw patients on a daily basis.
Okay. All right, we're going to stop there on that. So, what was the difference in this one? And maybe it might be a little more subtle on this, I think, but just shout out, what do you think she...
Thoughts? We say she didn't expand enough on her answers.
I agree. It was very short. She was very, just not a lot of depth in what she was saying. So I came away, my impression of her, I came away from, and doesn't want to share. Either she made something up in her application, which does happen, or she's just really nervous and this isn't the environment for her. So definitely, we give you 2 minutes. Find that line there. Okay. We're going to do another one. And guys, in really quickly. Okay. So this is our third one. And so I'm just going to start it off with Ms. Goodrich. It's nice to have you here. I was noticing in your application that you have been a scribe, medical scribe for several years. Tell me about that experience for you.
Oh gosh, well, scribing is a really good experience. Let me start with that. But it is, oh my gosh, some of the people that you see in there. I mean, think about the emergency room and all these patients come in, and some of them are pretty disgusting. But you have to see it all anyway, and the doctor is there, and you're pretty much just standing in the corner doing your thing. But it is, it was something else, that's for sure.
So do you feel? So that's some negative aspects I see that you have towards maybe the healthcare field.
I mean, not really like the healthcare field, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really know that I want to be in like an emergency room and dealing with those kind of people.
Those kind of people? Okay. What kind of medicine do you want to go into?
I really like plastic surgery. I think they make a lot of money, which is pretty appealing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you like the money aspect of that? Is that why you want to be a doctor? Is for money?
Isn't that why everyone wants to be a doctor?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. We're gonna stop there. I'm not gonna mute everybody's mics right now because I think maybe I'm cutting in and out a little bit whenever we do that. But just really briefly, a lot of things wrong here with Anna. Obviously, her answers show a very shallow view of why she wants to go into healthcare. She wants to get rich. She's talking disparagingly about a lot of people. And the thing maybe I think you probably picked up on was just the mannerisms. She was slouched. She was playing with her hair. Not a lot of good eye contact with me. That's another big key that I look for. Eye contact is major for me. So a lot of negatives there. And I don't know what else you did. What else did you do?
Fidgeting. A lot of fidgeting.
A lot of fidgeting.
Did you already say that already?
No, didn't say that.
Yeah. I used a lot of just slang and filler words like
Yeah, I used a lot of ums. Okay, we're gonna do. I just did it now. We're gonna do this one. So we're gonna do an example and of a good interview, and this is an example of things that you should be focusing on, and just see how she conducts herself, answers she gives to the questions. I might throw her some questions maybe she hasn't thought of before, so we'll see how she answers those. But we'll take it from here. So Anna, welcome to ATSU. How has your morning been?
Thank you. It's been really great. As soon as I got here, everyone was just very friendly and welcoming, and yeah, it's off to a really good start.
So let's talk about med school. Your first year of med school obviously is going to be a big transition for you. What do you think is going to be the easiest thing for you during that first year? What do you think is going to be the most challenging?
There's a lot of things about medical school, and easy isn't probably one of the words that I would use to describe it, but definitely one of the least challenging things I think will be the socializing aspect, making friends with other students, forming study groups. It's really important, I think, to be a collaborative core of students in a medical field. I mean, those are going to be the people that you're working with in the long run. So, and making new friends and talking to people has always been something that has been a strength of mine. As far as the most challenging aspect, I definitely think it's going to be the intense curriculum. Undergrad, of course, was tough in taking those upper level science courses, but medical school is a lot more. And I think just, really bearing down and getting the feel of how much I need to study, when I need to study, and just really finding what works for me.
Okay, let me throw a scenario at you, and I want to see how you respond to this scenario.
Okay.
Let's say that you're in family practice, and it's a Friday. You've been at work all week long, and you've been going late every single night. Okay, it's Friday night, you've got a big event planned with maybe a husband or a boyfriend or something, and your clinic's full, and then there's a homeless guy, and he comes in, he talks to the front desk, and he says, you know what, I need to get in, I've got a lot of problems, I'm really hurt, and they say it's 9 o'clock in the morning, we don't have room. He said, I'm willing to wait all day long to see Dr. Goodrich. You know that you're going to have to miss your important function. You don't even know if this person can pay for whatever you're going to do for them. And you're probably going to get out of it until 7:30 or 8 o'clock. What do you do?
Well, that's a very good question, by the way, good scenario. I think that, one of the things that medical professionals should always strive for is helping the individual. We all have things that we want to attend and things that we want to do, and sometimes there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made in the medical field, but absolutely, without question, I'm going to see that patient. That's why I'm going into medicine. I want to help people and definitely those underserved populations, the people that don't get medical attention, easily, and sometimes we just have to make exceptions for those people.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. Give me a thumbs up if you thought she did well, and a thumbs down if you thought she did poorly. Thumbs up. Okay, yes. Anna did very well. A couple of things about her, just from my perspective. I've actually never interviewed her. Actually, I did. Very pleasant, very engaging, drew me in. She had a lot of smiles, a lot of eye contact, set up, very pleasant, positive person. That's what we want to see. That's what you want to be. Answered the questions directly and head on, but took time to expand on those questions. Demonstrated compassion, demonstrated selflessness. All of those types of things are what we're looking for. That heart aspect, the humanitarian aspect is important too. So good job on that. Got anything to add?
Did I get accepted?
I don't know. We gotta look at the files. So the last portion of what we're going to do is at each site, the facilitator should have some questions. This is the part you don't know about, I don't think. We set them in ahead of time, and you're going to interview each other. So I'd like you to partner up with someone else in the room, and we're going to have 2 sets of questions, so you're going to take turns. Someone will interview, A will interview B, and then B will interview A, and you'll each have different questions that we came up with. So little mini mock interview for you to see what it's like, get comfortable in that environment. So if whoever has the questions, we'll actually get in your groups, and whoever has those questions, hand those out. Don't let the person you're interviewing see your questions. Very important. Don't let them see those questions, because we want it to be something that you're not ready for, not prepared for. Okay? All right. We're going to give you a little bit of time to do that, about 5 minutes or so. And then what we'll do is we'll go with each center. We'll do one at a time. And we will ask you to share your experience and what you thought about going through this. Was it easier than you thought? Was it harder than you thought? Things like that. So we'll let you guys do that. Get about 5 minutes. Someone asked at one of the centers, do we have set questions? Are we making them? The questions should have been sent out beforehand, I believe. Did you guys know? Did the centers not get the questions?
Cassandra, do you have access to your email? Because I can send them to you real quick. I sent them to I will send them shortly. I sent them to your regular recruitment person, but I will send them momentarily. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, I think we're going to move on. Just going to wrap things up. We're getting close to the 8 o'clock hour, so it's kind of hard, I think, whenever we unmute the different centers. I think that sometimes we can hear you, sometimes we can't. So let's just try it. Let's just see how we do. We'll start. Seems like Southwest is still going with some good questions. So we'll give you a couple more minutes. Southwest, we'll just take a couple more minutes. What I'd like to ask everybody to do in the rest of the centers is to just type in your thoughts. You can start doing that now if you want to, And it might be easier than trying to talk because sometimes it's hard to pick up on stuff. So if you just want to type in, maybe people want to talk about, was it easy for them? How did they feel? Things like that. Was it helpful for them? And then we'll come back in a couple minutes and talk about that. Okay, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and kind of bring it to the end, the conclusion a little bit. Rather than have everybody talk about their experiences, I think that you all in your different groups can talk about that, hash that out a little bit yourselves. And you personally went through the experience, so you kind of know how it feels. This is a very mini type of environment. Maybe you've done some mock interviews before. Maybe this is your first exposure, so this would be a very good starting point for you. So I actually have a question that someone typed in. This would be the time. If you have questions, we're getting close to the end, please type them in. And about anything that we've talked about anything with interviewing, you could also ask us questions about admissions, period. Anything that you want to talk about, this is the time to type your questions in. But somebody asked, do you have any tips for answering the question about why you want to be a doctor? Okay? And that sometimes some people can, they feel like they have a lot of different experiences and they don't want to, dominate the conversation and go too long into it. So I'll let Anna talk and answer that in a minute, but my tip would be, it kind of goes into your personal statement, as well as what you bring to the interview table. So the number one thing about what we're looking for, other than just your personality and who you are, is why do you want to do this? What's your core values and what's your reasons behind it? There's a lot of different ways you can approach this. I would focus on one or two of the most meaningful experiences in your life that have drawn you to medicine or dentistry or whatever it is. So maybe you have 7 or 8 different things that were instrumental and were impactful on you and that driven you to be a doctor. Maybe there's a lot of different things that's happened in your life. I would pick the 2 most impactful things, or 3 in your life, focus on those, and then at our discretion, as an interviewer, we might want to expound on that. And then that gives you an opportunity, once we've opened the door for you, to walk through it, bring in some more experiences and things like that. You can always do that, but like you said, you don't want to dominate. So Anna, do you have any other thing on that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay, then I'll let you have this next one. Definitely good questions. This one says, what are you looking for when you ask what it means to be professional? What are we looking for someone who, the professional stance?
Well, definitely just, to speak professionally. We understand that you're not going to say everything perfect, and you might slip in and or like here and there, and that's totally fine. But just, maintain eye contact, like Jason said. Don't get off subject. Treat the interviewer as, respectfully as you can. They're your gateway into medical school. So, you need to treat them like they have that authority. So, again, just dress professionally. As far as just acting professional, I mean, you guys kind of saw some examples there. Don't get off subject. Don't be condescending. Don't slouch. Yes, I mean, I've had interviews where the person, I don't have a back on my chair, but they're just completely slouched back and kind of got their feet kicked out and just making themselves very at home in my office, which, I always want applicants to be comfortable, but, there's a fine line between comfort and unprofessional. So.
Yeah, and that just the whole demeanor.
Yeah.
The whole presence. You want to look at your interview like you're interviewing for your dream job, and everything's on the line, so to speak. Do you really want to take those extra steps? The professional dress, everything Anna said about the way you speak, the way you hold yourself, the presence you put out. We're speaking loudly not only through our words, but through our actions and your perception. So perception is reality. What makes an applicant stand out? That's the next one. What do you think about that? No, you're doing great at answering.
Well, a standout applicant to me is someone who, again, all the things we talked about is professional, well-rounded applicant, someone that, you don't always necessarily have to make a connection with the person, but But, Jason mentioned earlier that conversational approach. Whenever I was doing an example of a good interview, he talked about the things about how I was very pleasant, how you could definitely see the compassionate side of me and my drive for medicine. Just, establishing the reason that you want to be there. And, of course, academics and MCAT and clinical experience, all of those things play a huge part. But those are the things that got you to the interview. So when you're actually interviewing, you really just want to show them what kind of person you are. And it's easy to weed people out, once we get to that point. So just be yourself, really just show why you want to become a physician or, whatever it is you're interviewing for. And just, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer, and I would add to that. Being yourself is major. I've interviewed enough people. I can tell if someone's not being genuine with me, and Anna has as well. Most people have. It's really easy to pick up on that. So you want to be genuine. You want to be forthright. Really the first thing that popped into my mind on that was what makes an applicant stand out to me is if when they're telling their story, and we all have a story to tell, if I can feel that. That what drew them in, and I can really understand it. And let's say maybe they had an illness as a child, or maybe a brother or sister or something, and that really changed their direction. Or maybe they went on a medical mission trip as a sophomore in college, and that changed their direction. And I can really feel that, and I can see that sense of man, this person's real, and they really have a focus in this area, and they're going to do great things because they have a compassionate side. That, to me, speaks volumes. Not everybody, just human nature, you're not going to connect with every interviewer that you have. You might connect with someone really well and maybe not with the other person as well, but just being able to share your story. And, obviously, if you're in the interview stage, we've seen your grades, we've seen your MCAT or DAT or whatever, we've seen all the paper stuff. On paper, if you get an interview, theoretically on paper, you're adequate enough to get into med school or wherever you're going, or whatever program. It's the interview side of it that really sets people apart and determines what happens next. So, just being open and honest, sharing that story, being upbeat and positive, that to me is a great one as well. Just being upbeat. Now, you don't want to be just jumping out of your chair, and be ingenuous, but definitely want to be, a positive presence as well. So, okay, I don't know if we have any more questions coming in. I hope this was a great experience for you all. We've enjoyed having you. The Southeast and Southwest and Northeast as well. So we're going to go ahead and shut it down now. And the centers all have our contacts. You can get a hold of us anytime. And we hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks, guys.